Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into how banks are keeping their systems running no matter what. We've waded through a mountain of case studies, white papers, company profiles, all about business continuity and disaster recovery.
Right.
And we're here to bring you the need-to-know stuff. So get ready to explore how the financial world is using cutting-edge tech to avoid some seriously major problems.
It always amazes me the crazy high stakes involved in this topic. When a bank system crashes, it's not just a minor inconvenience, it's a potential domino effect with huge impact on the entire economy.
Okay, so we're talking way more than just a website being down for a few hours.
Oh, way more. Every minute of downtime can mean massive financial losses.
Hmm.
And then there's the damage to the bank's reputation. And once that customer trust is gone, it's really tough to get it back.
It's true what they say. It takes years to build trust, but just seconds to break it. And our sources had some really shocking examples of what happens when things go wrong.
Oh, yeah, I bet. Which one really stood out to you?
Well, this one was pretty intense. U.S. Bank's CEO and executives took a 30% salary cut after a system failure. Talk about taking responsibility.
Wow. That really shows how seriously they take these events. And it makes sense when you think about it. If people can't access their money or make those crucial transactions when they need to, it causes a ripple effect throughout their lives.
You're right, banking is about more than just numbers. It's about people's lives and livelihoods. And it seems like those old school business continuity plans just aren't cutting it anymore.
Yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head. In this world of constantly evolving, super complex technology, a whole new approach is needed. And one company that seems to be at the forefront of this is they've got this continuity patrol platform that's really pushing the boundaries of what's possible in resilience automation.
From what I've read, they're all about being proactive. It's like they're saying, don't just wait for the fire alarm to go off, prevent the fire from starting in the first place.
Exactly. Their platform is all about orchestrating and automating disaster recovery efforts, making banks way more resilient to disruptions.
So it's not just having a plan on paper, it's having a system that can actually execute that plan in real time, isn't it?
Precisely. One of the key things they focus on is this thing called recovery time objective, or RTO. It's like this: if your whole system crashes, how long can you afford to be offline before it really starts hurting your business?
For a bank, I'm guessing the answer is not very long.
Yeah, you got it. And that's where Perpetuuiti comes in. They say their platform can reduce that RTO by up to 80%, getting those critical systems back online way faster than with those traditional methods.
That's a bold claim. Are there any real-world examples to back that up?
Oh, they definitely have them. One case study that caught my eye was Bank. They actually managed to reduce their RTO by 70% across their whole infrastructure after they implemented Continuity Patrol.
So it's not just theoretical. They're actually delivering tangible results. That's pretty impressive. But what about data loss? That's got to be a major concern for banks, right?
Absolutely, it is. And that's where another key metric comes in: Recovery Point Objective, or RPO. It's all about minimizing the amount of data lost in the event of a crash. Think of it as a measure of how far back in time you need to go to recover your data.
Okay, got it. So the lower the RPO, the better, because it means less data is lost.
Mm.
How does Continuity Patrol achieve this?
Well, they use a bunch of techniques, including something called parallel processing. Instead of recovering systems one by one, which takes forever, it allows for simultaneous recovery of multiple
Like a
systems.
team of superheroes working together instead of just one lone hero trying to save the day.
Exactly, and that's what makes it so effective, streamlining the whole recovery process and reducing the overall downtime.
It sounds like Perpetuity has really tackled the technical challenges here. But we've also been talking about needing a more holistic approach, one that includes people and processes.
You're absolutely right. Technology alone won't cut it. Building a truly resilient organization requires a shift in mindset, and Perpetuity gets that. They have this resilience framework. It's about integrating technology with the human aspects of resilience, aligning people, processes, and technology to create a truly resilient organization.
So it's not just about installing some fancy software and calling it a day. It's about fostering a culture of preparedness and making sure everyone's on board.
Exactly. It's like having fire drills, but for your entire IT infrastructure.
And speaking of drills, one thing I noticed was this drill on demand feature. Can you tell me what that is and why it's so important?
Sure. Drill on Demand basically lets banks test their disaster recovery plans anytime, like at the push of a button. They can simulate a disaster scenario and see how their systems respond in a safe and controlled environment.
So no more waiting for the annual disaster recovery day that everyone dreads.
Exactly. This on-demand capability lets banks be way more agile and proactive with their testing, making sure their recovery plans are always up to date and effective.
Sounds like they've thought of everything. But before we get too lost in the details, let's take a step back and look at the big picture for a second.
Okay.
What's really interesting here is the emphasis on proactive resilience. Traditionally, disaster recovery has been reactive. You deal with the problem after it's happened. But Perpetuitia is all about a shift in mindset. Prepare for the disaster before it even occurs.
Yeah.
They're saying don't wait for the house to catch fire before you install smoke detectors.
Exactly. And they're the ones providing the tools and framework to make that possible. This proactive approach is not just about minimizing damage, it's also about seizing opportunities by being ready for anything. Banks can stay agile and responsive even when faced with unprecedented challenges.
That's what sets them apart. They're not just selling a product. They're offering a complete solution that empowers banks to be truly resilient.
It's a message that's more relevant than ever in today's increasingly unpredictable world.
Speaking of uncertainty, what are some of the specific risks and challenges banks face today? What keeps them up at night?
Well, one thing that jumped out at me from Perpetuiti's stuff was the emphasis on man-made disasters. They argue that human error is often the root cause of major incidents. Those traditional, manually driven approaches are just naturally prone to mistakes.
And we've seen how costly those mistakes can be.
Absolutely. They believe automation is the key to getting rid of those errors and ensuring a consistent, reliable response, even in those high-pressure situations.
So it's about taking the human element out of the equation, at least when it comes to those critical, time-sensitive actions.
But not completely. Remember, building a culture of preparedness still needs human involvement. It's about training and empowering individuals to make the right choices and using the available technology effectively.
Okay, so it's a balancing act between human expertise and technological automation. What other challenges are there?
Well, there's the whole regulatory landscape. We've got the DOR Act in the EU,
Yep.
FCA, PS213 in the UK, and a whole bunch of other regulations globally that are pushing banks to raise their resilience game.
It seems like regulators are really cracking down, realizing the potential for systemic risks if even one bank fails.
And they're right to do so. The interconnectedness of the global financial system means that a failure in one institution can create ripple effects throughout the entire ecosystem.
So compliance isn't just a box to tick. It's absolutely essential for operating in this industry.
Absolutely. And Continuity Patrol is designed with compliance in mind. They have this ISO-compliant reporting, which is great for banks trying to streamline their auditing and reporting processes.
One less thing to worry about. We can't forget about the ever-increasing complexity of IT infrastructure. Banks are juggling legacy systems, cloud environments, new technologies, all of which need to be seamlessly integrated into their recovery plans.
That's where Continuity Patrol's platform and technology agnostic nature really shines. It can handle any infrastructure, whether it's on-premises, in the cloud, or a hybrid of both.
So they're not limited by specific vendors or technologies, which is a big plus in today's fast-paced tech world.
And talking about fast-paced evolution, we can't ignore the rise of cyber threats. Cyber attacks are becoming more sophisticated all the time, and banks are prime targets.
This adds a whole other layer of complexity to resilience planning.
Exactly. Cyber resilience is no longer an optional extra. It's a core part of any comprehensive resilience strategy. And Perpetuity knows this. They've integrated cyber recovery capabilities right into their platform.
They really are covering all the bases. But there are some other impressive results highlighted in our sources, right?
Right. This bank managed to achieve 99.9% uptime for their core banking services, all thanks to Continuity Patrol. That's practically uninterrupted service.
Wow, that's incredible. Banks saw their RTO plummet by 70% in just 2 hours. That must make a huge difference in those situations where every minute counts.
Absolutely. These case studies really prove that Perpetuity solutions are more than just concepts. They're delivering real value for major financial institutions.
It's incredible how technology can make such a tangible difference in an industry that's so vital to all of us.
It is, and it's clear the world of resilience automation is constantly evolving.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground, but it feels like we've only just scratched the surface. There's still so much more to explore. Let's take a look at some of those more detailed features of Continuity Patrol next, like their unique approach to service availability monitoring, drift management, and the integration of generative AI into their workflows.
It really is amazing to see how technology is changing the game for resilience in banking. And what sets a platform like Continuity Patrol apart are those deeper features that are kind of working behind the scenes.
Give me an example. What are some of those features that you found really interesting?
Well, their approach to service availability monitoring really stood out to me. It's not just about knowing if a system's down, it's about understanding why it's down and what the potential ripple effects could be.
So instead of just getting a red light flashing system down,
Yeah.
you actually get more context about what's going on.
Exactly. It's like having an x-ray of your entire IT infrastructure, but in real time. You can see the status of all your critical applications, databases, networks, servers, everything. That level of visibility is essential for making smart decisions, especially during a crisis.
Definitely a step up from the old way of doing things, where you had to check everything manually.
Oh, yeah. Traditional approaches were usually reactive. You only found problems after they'd already happened. But Continuity Patrol gives you proactive insights, allowing you to fix potential problems before they become major issues.
It's all about staying one step ahead. But even with that proactive monitoring, things can still change unexpectedly, can't they? That's where this drift management comes in, right?
Yes. Drift management is one of those behind-the-scenes features that's super important. It tackles the issue of configuration drift, which happens when your production and recovery environments slowly become misaligned over time.
Can you help me picture that? What exactly is drift in this context?
Okay, so imagine two ships sailing next to each other. They represent your production environment where all your systems are live, and your recovery environment, which is your backup system. As time passes, those ships might start to drift apart, maybe because of updates, changes, patches, all sorts of things.
So even tiny changes can add up and create a big difference between the two.
Exactly. And if those two environments aren't in sync, your recovery plan might not work the way you expect when you need it most.
Definitely sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. So how does Continuity Patrol actually stop this drifting?
It's always watching both environments, like a hawk. If it sees any inconsistencies or unauthorized changes, it sounds the alarm. This makes sure your recovery environment stays a mirror image of your production environment, giving you confidence that your recovery plans will work when it matters most.
Like a safety net, making sure you're prepared, even for the unexpected.
Exactly. And this level of automation and control was just impossible with those old manual methods. It's a huge advantage of this kind of platform.
Let's talk about generative AI. That's been causing quite a stir in the tech world. We briefly mentioned Lisa and Dave, Perpetuity's AI assistants, earlier. What can you tell us about them?
These AI assistants are more than just a cool feature. They're a real step forward in making complex technology easier for everyone to understand and use.
How do these AI assistants actually fit into this world of disaster recovery?
Okay, imagine you're a bank manager responsible for disaster recovery, and a crucial system suddenly goes down. Instead of going through tons of technical documentation, you can just ask Lisa in plain English, something like, "What's the status of our online banking system?" or "How long until we're back online?"
So it's like having a personal resilience expert available 24/7.
Exactly. And on the tech side, you've got Dave. Dave can help your IT team build and test recovery workflows, write scripts, troubleshoot problems, even generate code.
Sounds like a whole team of experts at your fingertips.
The best part is they're powered by generative AI, which means they're constantly learning and improving. It's really something else.
Straight out of a sci-fi movie. Speaking of being prepared for anything, let's go back to Drill on Demand for a minute. I'm really curious to hear more about why this feature is so innovative.
Well, traditionally, those disaster recovery drills were huge, time-consuming things. It was like planning a major event, multiple teams involved, tons of coordination, sometimes months of preparation.
Sounds like a logistical nightmare.
Oh, it could be. And because they were so complicated, a lot of banks only did these drills once or twice a year. But with Continuity Patrol's Drill on Demand, banks can test those recovery plans whenever they want.
That's like a fire drill at your fingertips.
Exactly. And it's not just about testing the technology. It's about making sure everyone knows their role, refining those processes, and building a culture of preparedness.
It's definitely a more efficient and effective way to approach disaster recovery planning. But technically speaking, how does Drill on Demand work?
Well, you can pick specific applications, systems, or even entire business processes that you want to test. Continuity Patrol then simulates a disaster, triggering those recovery plans. You can watch everything happen in real time, kind of like a movie, but you can pause, rewind, and analyze every single step.
So it's a safe environment to test and learn without putting your live systems at risk.
Exactly. And because it's all automated, these drills can be done much faster and with fewer resources compared to those old methods.
More efficiency and less downtime, that's a win-win for any bank.
What about compliance? I imagine there are a lot of rules around disaster recovery testing.
There are a ton, and Continuity Patrol helps with that too. It automatically generates reports that meet those ISO standards, giving you that proof that you're following the rules.
So no more scrambling to document everything by hand. That must be a huge relief for a lot of banks.
It is. And since these reports are standardized, they're easy to share with auditors and regulators. Transparency and accountability. Two super important things in banking. Now, those low-code, no-code libraries that Perpetuity offers really caught my eye.
Oh, those are fantastic. Those libraries are a real game changer for building and managing disaster recovery workflows. Traditionally, this involved writing a ton of code, which needed specific skills and took forever.
Doesn't sound very fun.
It really wasn't. But with these libraries, you can create workflows using pre-built components. Think of it like building with Legos, where each block is a specific action or command.
So you just drag and drop those pre-built blocks to make a visual picture of your workflow.
Exactly. And because those blocks have already been tested, you can be confident they'll work as expected.
No more struggling to understand complex code or dealing with syntax errors. It seems like Perpetuity really wants to make these solutions easy to use for everyone.
You got it. They understand that not every company has a whole team of programmers, so they've designed this platform so that even people without a tech background can use it.
It's like giving everyone access to powerful technology. What about customization, though? Every bank has its own unique systems and processes. How does Continuity Patrol handle that?
That's the great thing about it. You're not limited to just using the pre-built stuff. You can change those components, add in conditional logic, create different paths, even connect with other systems.
So there's a balance between that pre-built efficiency and the flexibility to adjust it to your specific needs.
Exactly. And that flexibility is crucial for making sure your recovery workflows actually align with how your business operates.
It really does sound like they've thought of everything. But with all this focus on features and capabilities, let's not lose sight of the ultimate goal. What is the purpose of all this automation and innovation?
The main goal is to drastically reduce that RTO, the recovery time objective we were talking about earlier. Remember, every minute a bank is offline can cost them a fortune.
So it's all about minimizing the impact of disruptions and getting things back to normal as fast as possible.
Exactly, and Perpetuity believes their patented parallel processing technology is the key to doing that.
Can you explain a little more about how that works? How does parallel processing actually work in disaster recovery?
Okay, picture a traditional recovery process. You have to recover each system one by one, like a relay race. You have to wait for each runner to finish before the next one can even start.
That sounds incredibly slow.
It can be, but with parallel processing, multiple tasks can run at the same time, which dramatically cuts down that total recovery time.
So instead of one runner at a time, it's more like multiple runners on the track all working together.
You got it. And this is all made possible by their intelligent workflow orchestration engine. It analyzes those recovery plans and figures out which tasks can be done simultaneously.
So it's not just about blindly doing things at the same time. It's doing them strategically and efficiently.
Exactly. That's how they achieve those impressive RTO reductions, sometimes even by as much as 80% or more.
Wow, 80% or more. That's huge. But it's not all about speed, right?
You're right. Parallel processing also makes that whole recovery process more reliable. By breaking down complex tasks into smaller, parallel parts, you reduce the risk of things going wrong or getting stuck.
Like they say, divide and conquer.
Exactly. And this doesn't just help with RTO, but also RPO, the amount of data that's lost.
Right, we touched on RPO before. The less data lost, the better. How does parallel processing fit into that?
By allowing for real-time data replication. It's like taking a snapshot of your data right before a disaster hits.
So you're always backing up your data behind the scenes, minimizing the potential for data loss.
Precisely. This is especially important for banks, where losing even a small bit of data can have huge consequences.
It makes sense. It seems like Perpetuity has carefully considered every single aspect of disaster recovery.
They really have. Another great example of this is their unified dashboard. It provides a central view of your overall resilience posture.
Okay, help me visualize this. What kind of information are we seeing on this dashboard?
You can see the status of both your production and recovery environments. how well your applications and systems are doing, the progress of your recovery workflows, and the results of those drill-on-demand exercises.
So it's like a central hub for everything related to resilience.
That's it. It gives you a clear picture of how resilient your organization is, making it much easier to manage and make smart choices.
Having the right information at your fingertips when you need it. But let's not get too focused on the technology. Remember, resilience isn't just about the tools you use.
You're absolutely right. People and processes are just as crucial. Technology is a powerful tool, but it's not a magic solution.
What do you mean by people in this context?
It's about creating a culture of preparedness within a bank. Everyone needs to understand their role and what they need to do if there's a disaster. That means training, clear communication, and regular reminders about being prepared.
So building a human firewall, basically.
You got it. And processes are super important too. You need well-defined procedures for recovery, escalation plans, and clear communication protocols between teams.
So no more improvising when things go wrong. It's about having a solid plan in place.
Precisely. And Perpetuity really emphasizes integrating their technology with a company's existing continuity plans. They get that technology is just one part of the solution.
So it's all about creating a resilient ecosystem where people, processes, and technology all work together seamlessly.
Exactly. One tool that can help banks create this ecosystem is something called a business impact analysis, or BIA.
Okay, BIA. Sounds important, but maybe a little technical. Can you explain that a bit more?
Sure. A BIA helps organizations figure out the potential impact a disruption could have on those essential business operations. It's about understanding which processes are most important for things like revenue, customer relationships, and compliance.
It's about priorities, right? Deciding what needs to be recovered first and what can wait.
Right on. And Continuity Patrol actually has a built-in BIA module to help banks with this. They can assess those risks, figure out potential losses, and prioritize those recovery efforts more effectively.
Like having a risk assessment expert right there in the platform.
Exactly. And once you've done your BIA and figured out which functions are critical, you need to define those RPO and RTO targets for each of them.
Okay, remind me again about those terms. I remember that RPO is about data loss and RTO is about recovery time. Can you go into a little more detail?
Sure. RPO, or Recovery Point Objective, tells you the maximum amount of data you can afford to lose. So if your RPO is 4 hours, you're aiming to get your data back to a point no more than 4 hours before the disruption happened.
So smaller RPO, less potential data loss.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Now what about RTO?
RTO, or Recovery Time Objective, is the maximum time it should take to get a system or application back up and running after something goes wrong. So if your RTO is 2 hours, you're aiming to be back online within 2 hours of the problem.
Smaller RTO, faster recovery time. How do banks actually decide what their RPO and RTO targets should be?
It depends on several things, like how critical the system is, the potential financial impact of downtime, and any regulations they need to follow.
So it's all about finding a balance between risk, cost, and compliance. How does Continuity Patrol play into all of this?
Continuity Patrol helps banks hit those RPO and RTO targets through automation, orchestration, and real-time monitoring.
It's like a personal trainer for your bank's resilience?
And since these targets are clearly laid out and tracked within the platform, it's easy to measure progress and make sure you're on the right path.
It's all about accountability and always striving to get better. I also noticed the integration with ServiceNow. How does that fit into the resilience strategy?
That's a great example of how Perpetuity takes their platform further by connecting it with other enterprise systems. ServiceNow is a popular IT service management platform, and by connecting it with Continuity Patrol, banks can automate their incident management process.
So if a problem occurs, Continuity Patrol can automatically trigger an incident in ServiceNow, making sure the right people are informed and the issue is tracked and fixed quickly.
You got it. It creates a smooth flow of information between your disaster recovery and IT service management systems, streamlining the entire process of managing those incidents.
It's all about breaking down those barriers and improving communication. And while we're on the topic of breaking down barriers, let's talk about something that's often overlooked in disaster recovery planning. Drift management. We briefly touched on this before, but can you refresh my memory on what it is and why it's so important?
Sure. Drift management is all about ensuring your recovery environment is a perfect reflection of your production environment. Remember the ship analogy from earlier. Drift happens when those two ships head in different directions.
Right, because those small changes over time can create a big gap between those two environments.
Right.
which could really mess up your recovery plans.
Exactly. And Continuity Patrol tackles this with a mix of automated discovery, real-time monitoring, and those proactive alerts. It's always checking both environments, looking for any discrepancies, and if it finds something, it immediately alerts the right team so they can take action.
Like a watchdog constantly on guard, sniffing out any potential problems.
You got it. This proactive approach is way more efficient and reliable than those traditional methods, which often depended on manual checks and reconciliation processes that were prone to mistakes and delays.
So it's all about catching those little deviations before they become major issues.
Exactly. Drift management is a perfect example of how Perpetuity is using automation and intelligence to bring disaster recovery into the modern age.
Okay, so we've uncovered even more layers of this continuity patrol platform, from that drill on demand and the AI assistance to those low-code, no-code libraries and this drift management. But it feels like there's still so much to discover.
You're absolutely right. There's a whole world of advanced features we haven't even talked about yet. Things like cloud integration, cyber recovery, and even more sophisticated ways of using AI.
It definitely seems like we've just scratched the surface on this deep dive. Let's explore some of those advanced capabilities next. Okay, so we've covered some pretty impressive features of Continuity Patrol so far, but it seems like cloud environments and cyber threats add a whole other level of complexity to things.
You're not wrong. Those are two areas where traditional disaster recovery strategies often struggle. But luckily, Continuity Patrol has some interesting solutions.
Well, let's start with the cloud. More and more banks are shifting their critical systems and data to the cloud these days. So how does Continuity Patrol adapt to that?
It's designed to be cloud agnostic, meaning it works seamlessly with all the major cloud providers, whether it's AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, or even a combination of them.
So it doesn't matter which cloud a bank chooses. Continuity Patrol can integrate without any hiccups and provide that same level of resilience.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just basic compatibility. Continuity Patrol offers features specifically designed for cloud environments. Things like automated cloud discovery and cloud-native workflow orchestration. It can even integrate with cloud-based disaster recovery services.
So it's not just about taking your existing disaster recovery plan and putting it in the cloud. It's about really using the cloud's unique capabilities to make your resilience even stronger.
That's the idea. For example, Continuity Patrol can automatically spin up those virtual machines in the cloud, provide resources on demand, and handle those complex recovery workflows across multiple cloud regions.
It's like having a virtual cloud engineer working for you, ready to deploy your recovery plan whenever and wherever you need it.
That's a great way to put it. And since it's cloud native, it can scale up or down as needed, adapting to the ever-changing nature of cloud environments.
Makes perfect sense. Now let's address the big one, cybersecurity. Banks are prime targets for cyber attacks these days. How does Continuity Patrol handle that?
That's a really important point. Cyber resilience is no longer a nice to have. It's absolutely crucial. Continuity Patrol integrates with leading cyber recovery solutions to provide a multi-layered defense against those attacks.
So it's not just about bouncing back from natural disasters or system crashes. It's about being ready for those malicious attacks, too.
Exactly. If a cyber attack happens, Continuity Patrol can help isolate those affected systems, recover data, and minimize the overall damage.
Like a digital immune system, quickly identifying and neutralizing those threats.
And because it integrates with the bank's existing security tools, it provides a coordinated and comprehensive approach to cyber resilience.
We've talked a lot about automation and AI. But even with all this advanced technology, it's still crucial to have the right people and processes in place, right?
Absolutely. Technology is a powerful tool, but it's not a magic solution. You need a holistic strategy that combines technology with human expertise and well-defined processes.
So it's not just about installing some software and hoping for the best. It's about creating a culture of preparedness that spans the entire organization.
That's it. It's about training people, making sure communication channels are clear, and running those regular drills to ensure everyone knows exactly what to do if things go sideways.
Building that human firewall alongside the technological one.
Well said. And remember those BIA and Arporto exercises we discussed? Those are really important for making sure people and processes are in sync with the technology.
Right. Identifying those essential functions. Understanding the impact of potential disruptions. And setting clear targets for recovery.
Exactly. And with Continuity Patrol, those targets become actionable. The platform keeps track of progress, measures performance, and helps ensure everyone is working towards the same resilience goals.
It's about accountability and always striving to improve.
Precisely. And that's what truly sets Continuity Patrol apart. It's not just a bunch of separate features, it's a comprehensive solution that allows banks to be truly resilient, no matter what challenges they face.
It's been a fascinating look into the world of resilience automation in banking. From the huge impact of downtime to the amazing possibilities of AI, it's definitely an area that's constantly evolving.
Absolutely. And as we've discussed, the key is to take a holistic approach, combining technology with human expertise, well-defined processes, and a dedication to continuous improvement.
For all those banking leaders listening out there, don't wait for a disaster to happen before you start thinking about resilience. Take action now. Explore what automation can do. Take advantage of those latest advancements in AI. Build a culture of preparedness that will help you weather any storm.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of resilience automation. We hope you found it valuable.
And remember, resilience isn't just a destination, it's a journey that begins with a single step. Take that step today, and you'll be on your way to building a truly resilient organization.